Hello, and welcome to the first episode of a podcast series, Fireside Chats on Tech, Privacy, and AI. We have started this series with the purpose of having casual one to one discussions on the ever evolving field of privacy and artificial intelligence. Today, we have with us Jamal Ahmed, Ahana Pardhe, and Chetandeep Singh Batra to have a fireside chat discussion on the topic, an overview of privacy enhancing technologies, concepts, applications, and future directions. This episode will progress in a manner where I will be posing a question to one of our guests, and it will be open for our other guests to weigh in as well. Thank you everyone for joining us, and it is a great pleasure to have you with us. I will begin by giving a short description of each of our guests and then move on to the questions. I will start by introducing Jamal. Called the King of Privacy by the BBC network, Jamal Ahmed is a globally renowned name. Jamal is the founder and host of the Pro podcast, the number one privacy podcast for a thriving career, where he shares insights, tips, and best practices from leading privacy experts. He is also founder of Kazient Privacy Experts, a multi-award winning global privacy and AI consultancy that provides tailored solutions to clients across various sectors. A true person passionate in a field is one who not only practices but also empowers others to become masters in the field. Jamal is also the founder of the Privacy Pros Academy, where he offers online courses, coaching, and mentoring programs that help anyone interested in privacy to transform their careers and change their lives. It is indeed an honor to have you here with us, Jamal, today.
Thank you very much for having me, especially on the first one. It's an absolute pleasure and an honor. So I'm very grateful to be here.
Thank you so much for taking out your time. I can understand that it's very busy for you, but you still took out time. So I'm really, really grateful.
That's okay. I can send you an invoice later.
Now we will move on to our next guest, Ahana Pardhe. Ahana is a veteran in the field of data privacy and regulatory compliance. She has worked on complex privacy and compliance issues for APAC, NAM, and EMEA. In the summer of 2022, Ahana moved to Canada from India to share her expertise in the field globally and has, in a short period of time, been invited to Humber College to give talks on the Canadian privacy landscape and has even been nominated to launch a book titled The Easy-Peasy Guide to the GDPR. It's quite a pleasure that the author of the Easy-Peasy Guide to GDPR is actually here with us, Jamal. Ahana is a boss lady, passionate about her work, and in her free time contributes to the society. She is a volunteer for Hospice Ontario, Princess Margaret Cancer Foundation, Goan Overseas Association of Toronto, Helping Hearts, and Water for Voiceless. It is indeed a pleasure to see someone not only working so passionately in the field of privacy, but also being a considerate member of the society. It is indeed a pleasure to have you here today, Ahana. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Shashwat. Those were some big words. Very kind. I'm starting my Friday, so hearing words like this makes me like in Hindi we say chane ke jhaad pe chada do. So you put me on the chane ka jhaad early morning. I'm excited to be here along with Jamal, especially because Jamal and me have only got this opportunity to meet face to face the last year when we launched his book, and excited to work more with both of these people, Chetan, Jamal, and with you, Shaswat.
Thank you so much. It is indeed a pleasure. And I can understand that it was a busy Friday for you, and yet you took out time. So I'm really, really thankful. I will now move on to our third guest, Chetandeep Singh Batra. An MBA graduate from the Swiss School of Management, Chetandeep Singh Batra is a young privacy professional, New Delhi chapter, and is a senior executive in privacy with one of the big fours. In addition to his numerous accomplishments in the field of privacy, Chetan is also a published author and writes in the science fiction genre. His book, Detective Avantika, Cyber Adventures in Mumbai, is a must read. Well, I truly believe, Chetan, that by you have not only so passionate about tech and privacy, that you actually started writing science fiction in the science fiction genre. It is indeed quite commendable that you're doing that. I'm really grateful to have you here today with us.
Thank you so much, Shaswat. It has been a pleasure. So the book is a little bit a different story, but altogether, thank you so much for having me on the board. It is our first podcast and first webinar, so I'm looking forward to it. And the inspiration came from Jamal. To be honest, after his book was launched, I also wanted to explore into the field of privacy and collaborating in that accordingly. I wrote the detective series of Avantika with the cyber crime mysteries and all that stuff with science fictions also. So this was my end-to-end inspiration. Thank you so much, Jamal.
Well, indeed, writing, becoming an author is a big task, especially while managing your work. And like even I have been thinking of writing a book since quite some time, but I haven't been able to do it. So I'm really, really taking inspiration from you and Jamal today. And I will now begin with our first question addressed to Mr. Jamal. I would request our other guests to weigh in with their valuable input as well. So, Jamal, what, in your opinion, what are privacy enhancing technologies, and why do you think they are so important in today's digital landscape?
Okay, great question. But before we get into privacy enhancing technologies, I think it's important to make sure we start off on the same baseline and understand what is actually privacy. Because we can't understand what a privacy enhancing technology is until we got clear on what privacy is. So essentially, when we talk about privacy, from a legislative point of view, what we're talking about is the right that you have or we have as individuals to be left alone. And what we're saying is we invade someone's privacy the moment we start disturbing them, the moment we start observing them, and when we start interfering with them. So CCTV might be a way you observe somebody. Calling somebody and offering them a product, sending them an email, a text message, knocking on their door, that would be examples of disturbing them. And then interfering with them would be how you manipulate their choices or how you force them to do things they don't want to do. For example, forcing somebody to take an injection that sterilizes them from having a baby, or forcing someone to take an immunization that they don't want, forcing someone to have something done with one of their body parts. Right? These are some extreme examples, but that's what I'm saying. So the moment we start observing, interfering, and disturbing somebody, we are disturbing their right to privacy and we are disturbing their privacy. So privacy then means it's the actual right to be left alone. So if someone is in a state of privacy, it means they're in a state of being free from being observed, being disturbed, and being interfered with. Now we understand as things evolve and as we get more and more into the digitalization and the global economy, there is lots of technology and lots of ways for organizations to start observing, interfering, and disturbing us. Right? You're getting cold calls, you're getting emails, you're getting adverts.
Yes.
Somebody's knocking on your door. Somebody's spying on my computer with the cookies right now. Like even Zoom I'm using, we're taking analytics. All of these you'd call them observing, right? And then you might have people trying to make choices about interfering with some of the things going on, which is not going to be apparent, but it's all happening in the background. And that could all manifest into something later on. So a privacy enhancing technology is a technical solution or a technical method that helps us to preserve that privacy. And usually a business would use it to conserve the confidentiality of someone's personal information. It is quite a broad definition, but a privacy enhancing technology is there to amplify that level of privacy and to make it harder for other people or bad actors to understand who this data relates to and what the data actually reveals. So that's what we would say is a privacy enhancing technology. And when we think about privacy enhancing technologies, we've got some really new and innovative techniques that are coming in and being more and more popular now. But then we've got all of the traditional stuff. So traditionally, what we would have is, for example, what do I want to start off with? Let's start off with something really basic, encryption, right? So that's where you take information and then you put some kind of a lock on it. So anyone else that looks at that information can't see it, they can't access it. And then you need the encryption key or a way of getting into it to actually see what that information is. So that was traditionally what was happening. And it's important that we had this encryption both while the data was staying in one place and at rest, But also, when you send it from one place to another, from one computer to another, what happens during transportation? And what we know is that people can actually eavesdrop, they can intercept, they can see those things. You might even send things to the wrong place. And so there was lots of challenges with personal information getting exposed while it was in transit. And so it was important traditionally to have that both at rest and also in transit. But moving on, we have some really cool things happening. So de-identification is obviously a privacy enhancing technology. It's pretty simple, but it's very straightforward. And there's a couple of ways businesses tend to do this. So if you think about your credit card, if you see that coming up on a statement or anything, you'll see that they hash it out or using asterisks, and they only leave the last 4 digits. So we would call that redaction. That's taking a large chunk of the information out. Then you've got tokenization, where, for example, you might get a little fob and it'll give you a token. That tokenization is where you have a real value, but it gets replaced with a randomly generated value. So you can't see the real value. And then you've got hashing, which is pretty much changing the way something is, applying a function to the value to produce something of a fixed length. Then we have generalization. So for example, instead of saying Chaitandeep went to school, we would say a group of young children went to school. So we don't single somebody out. It's a little bit more general. It's a little bit more privacy enhancing. And then you can get really, really complicated. So what we're seeing more and more now is things like homomorphic encryption, multi-party computation, differential privacy, federated analytics, and even trusted execution environments. And there's all sorts of really cool things coming into place. And if you are really interested in more of these things, what I would recommend you have a look at is the CIPT, the Certified Information Privacy Technologist program, because on there we look at all of these different techniques and how we can really go ahead and meet the challenges, and how we can actually use technology in an effective way to make sure that we are making it more easy for people to enjoy their privacy, so they're not, or they're free from being observed, free from being disturbed, and free from being interfered with.
Oh, well, indeed, it is quite interesting because with so many new technologies coming up, it is indeed really important to keep up with the pace. And it was really great. You were talking about encryption, homomorphic encryption, and de-identification, which are indeed things which are catching up a lot. And definitely, I will recommend our listeners that if they're actually interested, they should definitely try for the CIPT exam, because it will genuinely help them enhance their knowledge on the various upcoming trends in privacy enhancing technologies. My next question is addressed to Ahana, where I will be asking her questions relating to the current landscape in data privacy. So, Ahana, what are the most commonly used PETs in various industries today? And it will be really, I'll be really grateful if you can talk about certain sectors and how they are using technologies to enhance privacy.
Lovely question, Shaswat. I think before I deep dive into what are the technologies, it's important to understand the rationale behind that. Like Jamal said, understanding the why is so important because that leads to choosing the right technology. So I'll take a few steps back, maybe a few decades ago when privacy became so important. More and more people started realizing the importance of it. These laws came up and the GDPR, and they started putting these restrictions and enforcements. And yeah, I mean, we have to do it. But the question is, how? And that is where privacy enhancing technologies. So this is nothing but just tools which help organizations to comply with the laws. So initially, the types of pets that we had were in a very simple way, two types. They were soft pets and hard pets. And this is something which most people did not know, because we talk about, like Jamal told you the whole list of pets, but you know what? There were initially just two types of pets. So the hard pets were the ones that relied more on in-house reliability, whereas the soft pets relied on third party. Take, for example, your differential privacy, your access control. So that is where you start off when you look at the different kinds of pets, whether you want to rely on third parties or you want to take the control in your own hands. Today, if we're talking about 2024, I think with AI, if I would have to say what are the types of pets, the first thing I can think of is maybe the branches. So I would, in my mind, think of three branches. The first one, the newly evolving, some are already there, some are evolving, AI-based pets. We're seeing a lot of them build up. Every day you see something new. Then we already have the data masking techniques that Jamal spoke about, some of them. And third one are the traditional ones, the cryptographic algorithms. So these are the three functions of the types of pets. And then from here, I would say, if you're looking at organizations and industries, one type of pet that I see across healthcare, finance, is the MPCs, like Jamal spoke about. And what is this MPC? It's nothing but the technical term is multi-party computation. It's a very simple approach that involves taking the personal information and distributing it amongst different organizations in a way that all the organizations can process that data without any single entity knowing exactly what's contained in that. And this kind of works well with all industries. That is something why most industries use this. Another one that I can think of off the top of my head is those proxies. I think they're typically called as oblivious proxies. These are intermediaries. So in simple language, without complicating it, I am a user. I'm trying to access a site, but I don't want that site to know my IP address or who I am. And so between me and that site, there are a number of intermediaries. So this computer or this system knows only this one. So the end user doesn't get to know who I am. And so my privacy is intact. I think there are a lot of other, there's the communication anonymizers where the real identity is hidden. We have it a lot over here in North America, because privacy is a growing thing. Every day, people are reaching out to me, asking me, what can we do? There's this new thing that I heard about, the EPID. Technically, it's called the Enhanced Privacy ID. This is also like typical to a digital signature that we already have, but this one has a signature PKI. So in terms of the tools that we see today, we have a lot already, but with AI coming in, there are way too many that we can use. The key to understand, and this is for our listeners, is sit down in the planning phase with your team and try to understand what is the problem we want to solve. The tools will be there. There is no shortage of tools today, and there will be more coming up. So think of what is the problem you're trying to solve. Don't only think of today, because you are constantly going to be evolving. So think of your current scenario, add another 5 years in, maybe you're migrating to the cloud, you're getting this new technology, and then look at the tools available, and you'll find your answer easily.
Definitely. This approach of yours, you have really in a very simple way explained how privacy, like various privacy enhancing technologies. I really loved your internet example where you were able to really like when you are accessing a website and how these tools are actually helping you mask your identity. It was really a good way of simplifying it for our audience. And it is indeed, I think, very, very important for for people who are to actually sit down with their teams and actually discuss and ensure that privacy is there from the beginning itself. And I'm really, really thankful for your valuable inputs. So now I will move on to my next question. This is addressed to Chetan, where we will be now discussing core concepts relating to PETs. So, Chetan, what are the key principles and concepts behind PETs?
Yeah. So following on the footsteps of Jamal. So Jamal told that before understanding PETs, we must understand what his privacy is. So like this same on that pattern, we have to understand what are the key principles of privacy are, so that we can enable the privacy enhanced technologies on that way forward situations. So I'll be starting with the data minimization. The first principle is the data minimization. The principle should be says about that it should be collecting and processing the data for a specific purpose only. For example, if you are signing up for a newsletter for a company, it should ask for email address. It should never should ask for your phone number, or it should never ask for your home address, or it should not ask for your some other different personal data accordingly. And the second one we have the principle is the purpose limitation. So the purpose limitation is that data should be collected for one purpose only. Without additional consent, the data should not be used as on that purpose. For example, if I'm going to purchase an iPhone, so data should be collected for that. I am going to purchase iPhone only. I need to purchase it and I have to go back. My data is not given them for some marketing emails they are sketching upon me and sending me once I give them my email for sending invoices, and they are sending the marketing emails to me without my consent. So it has to be aligned and submerged accordingly. The next one is the data integrity. It standards on that the data should be accurately, regularly updated, and it should be top notch, and it should be there should be no communication error, because insufficiency leads to customer dissatisfaction, and always the person of the whose data is loses control the where data is going and what is being implemented in the system when they are purchasing they are using services or using any technology of that company. So, and the next one is the clear communication that we call transparency. The transparency should be there when you are. I call it as a for a true example. If I go to a website, there should be a clear privacy notice of how the data should be regulated by the company from start till the end. It should tell about how data is being collected, it is being used, and how it is shared with the third parties, and what are the rights that a person can apply to it, so that a person knows where my data is, and if needed this company will provide my data request and apply accordingly with whatever he chooses to. And next is the next principle would revolve around user control. So when we are using the data, when processing the data, we the main thing is that the user must have their first right on the data. So while we are offering different services or products to the market, it should be always at the top that the user control is maintained with the rights being given, with the secure data handling practices being given, and they should be knowing where the data is kept, it is being transferred, and how they're gonna use it in their system, just like we are telling in the privacy notices.
Yes.
And the next part is we call upon the security pattern side. So we explored the organizational technical measures. In that respect, the data should be thoroughly pseudonymized or anonymized when they're required. There should be no sensitive information exposed to unauthorized access, and so that they can be prevented from online breaches. And there should be a secure portal to use that data, and it remains within the system accordingly. And the last one, but not the least, privacy should be implemented by design and default into the system. So whenever a person is launching a new app, or it is making a product and all that stuff, it should drive the product on the basis of the certain privacy principle I just explained. It should be in the default the person has their user control on it, and there are some rights available, and they can usually opt out if and their data is been collected for additional, and if the data is collected for additional purposes, consent should be at the first, and accordingly how the data is being shared with the third parties, the compliance and accountability shall be maintained with the help of all the laws and provisions just like GDPR, CCPA, and now in India we have DPDP accordingly. Yes, this is the background.
Well, indeed, Chetan, you did share quite a lot of detail and knowledge and details with our audience, and I'm really, really thankful that you were in so great detail. You were able to explain such complex concepts in such with such simple language. Indeed, privacy by design is something which I genuinely feel is a concept that should be from the beginning of the development of any product or any service, because later on, I believe it can become quite costly in order to actually later on change the product and ensure that it is compliant. And if we are able to ensure it from the beginning itself, well, it will be definitely a great thing for all people who are developing in tech and anything relating to privacy for that
Correct.
matter.
Correct.
So now I will move on to my next question. This is addressed to Mr. Jamal regarding industry-specific applications of PETs. So Jamal, how are PETs being applied in specific industries like healthcare, finance, and e-commerce?
It's a really good question. And there is no simple answer. You have to look at it on each use case. So even in the same industry, it doesn't mean that this is an industry kind of norm. Yes, there are best practices and there are things that are much easier to do, but there's lots of challenges that you need to look at. You need to look at what are the actual technical capabilities of the actual organization. And even if they have the actual technology there, do they have the know-how and the skill to execute it? And a lot of the times you'll find that there's lots of different challenges with those things. So let me try and give you an example, and maybe we can walk through this. So let's say, so Ahana can help me out with this because she's in healthcare, right? So imagine you have a clinic and you have some data in that clinic, and that data needs to be accessed with with third party. So let's say you've got raw data, and that now needs to be accessed or shared with another third party. So the first thing you have to think about, this information that we want to share, obviously we're in a clinic, but does this information actually include any sensitive data in it? It could be that you just have contact details because you just want somebody to send letters out. So you have to look at it on a case-by-case basis, right? Even in a setting. So if there is sensitive or personal identifiable information, then you need to think about, okay, can this data be useful if I redact and take out the sensitive information? Or does the sensitive information need to be included? And maybe the sad thing is not enough businesses are actually stopping and just asking those questions, those basic questions to begin with. Like if we just did that, that would be much more powerful than a privacy enhancing technology, right? So this is what we call about building a culture of data protection by design and by default. So that's the first thing we need to think about. Now, let's say if it can be removed, great, we don't need to do anything. If it can't, then obviously now we need to start thinking about what PETs can we bring in. But before we do that, we need to get to ask a few more questions. And anyone that's familiar with me, you know that we follow this C5 methodology: clarity. If you don't have clarity, then how can you be confident you've picked the right PET and you can actually do what you need to do? Because remember, as privacy pros, we want the business to utilize the data and we want there to be utility as much as we want to preserve the trust that's been entrusted with us and keeping that data private and confidential. So next thing I would ask is, are we actually providing access to a third party so they can carry out processing, or are they going to be doing something with that data themselves? Now, if they're carrying out the processing for their own purpose, then obviously we have to look at our data sharing agreement or data processing agreement to figure out what's going on. But let's say in this case, they're actually doing something that we need for us. So they're carrying out the process for us. So then in this case, we would say maybe something like homomorphic encryption would actually work quite well, or some kind of a trusted execution environment could be useful. Which one is best? I can't say. You have to look at the use case. It might be that you have to consider both those options and do the cost risk or cost benefit analysis and see which one actually helps you. Now, let's say you need to perform calculations that are really complex and the latency requirements are quite low. In that case, I would go more for trusted execution environments. But if we have really high latency or strong latency requirements and we need to perform very simple calculations, then we can just say homomorphic encryption, in this case, would be a really good tool to use. So you have to go through and ask good questions, break it down, figure out how to utilize it. Can we still achieve what we want to achieve with less data? And if we can, we should just do that. Otherwise, you need to see which one is going to help you given all of the other requirements that you have in place. Ahana, do you want to chime in there?
I fully agree, and thank you for using this scenario because I have a case, which is a real case that we had here in Ontario. This case is called the Circle of Care case, where there is so much of sensitive information in a healthcare industry, right? Now, put yourself in a situation where there's a patient, the doctor, and a couple of nurses. In this particular case, I think the nurse was a male nurse and the patient was his ex-girlfriend. And when she came into the hospital, she was pregnant, maybe, in her first trimester, and she was having some complications. And at this time, we did not have a clear case of who can access the information. Just because you're in the hospital, that doesn't mean that you have the right to access the information. Now, this nurse, who was her ex-boyfriend, got to know the information that she was having some complications. He was a bad actor, went to her current boyfriend and, told him something. In Hindi, we say, put some mirch masala. And it became a big issue, right? So then the current boyfriend came to the hospital, sued us, and he said, well, who's this person and why does he have access to this information? And so the best minds had to actually come together and think about, okay, how do we stop this? Now, this is a hospital. I mean, nurses are going to be there and they are going to have access to information. They can see it. There are billboards everywhere. So what do we do? And in this case, like Jamal said, there's no right pet, or there's no, okay, this is the pet that you have to use for this situation. It's all about asking the questions. It's all about that particular case. In this case, we had to go back and forth discussing over months. The second thing we did was we got in touch with our DevOps team and tried to analyze the various pets that we have, whether those pets can actually be incorporated into our system, because you may have the best pet out there, but you may not have the system to get that pet and incorporate it. So there are many questions. It's a circle of questions that you have to, it's a planning phase. And unless you don't sit together with a team of cross-functional team across, you will not get your right answer. And sometimes you may have to use multiple pets to solve one issue. Sometimes you may use a pet, you may realize after 3 months it's not working, or maybe another pet has come, something which is beneficial, more time saving. You can change it. It's flexible. That's the beauty of privacy and pets today, that there is no black and white. You hammer on this and say ordered. It's up to you. You are the CEO of this. It's all in your hands. Do what's best and how best you can work it out.
That's a great story, Ahana. Thank you for sharing. At some point, I thought you was going to say the ex-boyfriend turned out to be the father, but I'm glad it all worked out.
I think that would be a Bollywood movie then, Jamal.
Real life is much better than Bollywood, right? Where do you think they get the ideas from?
Absolutely.
The other thing that's quite important to make a point on, Shashwat, is a lot of people who are coming into privacy or moving from legal areas into technology, they've got this false idea or belief that privacy enhancing technology is a solution to whatever privacy challenge there is. That's the complete wrong attitude, and is actually factually incorrect. Because what you'll see is bad actors are actually using privacy enhancing technologies to get away with so much more because it's easier to hide what you're doing and how you're doing it. And people can't even see the things that you're doing to certain parts of data, right? So privacy
Yeah,
enhancing technology is just a tool, right?
it
It's
is.
not a magic fix. It's like a hammer. It's just a tool. You can take that hammer and you can build a house, or you can take that hammer and you can injure someone. It's a tool. It gets amplified in whichever hand it is in. So you can have that in your toolbox, but remember, just because you have that in your toolbox, it doesn't mean anything. You still have to see how best to use that tool, if that is even the correct tool to use to begin with. And if it
Definitely.
isn't, then which tool is actually going to be better? Or sometimes you need to use a combination of tools, as Ahana was saying. And I think that's what some people kind of forget to appreciate and see. And so I think it's very important that we go in with this attitude that this is just a tool and there are many tools. I might not be able to afford all of them, or I might not know how be trained on how to use all of them. So I'm limited, even though it's there. There are going to be limitations. And the last thing you want to do is use a power tool that you don't know what to do with. You'll end up causing more damage than good, right?
Definitely, and that is indeed quite true. Because any tool, if you don't know how to use it properly, it can be catastrophic and can actually do more bad than the good it could do. And it is that is one of the reasons I believe that as a person, you can only one is often limited by the knowledge that they have. So it is really important that we are able to collaborate and develop a good system where together we can help each other grow. And also, yeah, because we if we have a clear mindset that ultimately our goal is to have privacy and to protect privacy, then with the collaborations with the different teams and different people within the team, we can definitely ensure that at least try our best that privacy is maintained. So
Yeah, I
now
want
I
to
will.
challenge you. I want to challenge you on that because I don't think it's correct to say ultimately our goal is to enhance or preserve privacy. Our goal is to achieve the business's objectives whilst doing that in a confidential and private way. Because just keeping something private for the sake of private isn't actually the driver. With the business, your clients, your colleagues, whatever it is, hopefully you're working in a role where you buy into the mission, you buy into the impact that you're having, you buy into the benefit you're having to society. And so we want to be part of that mission and that vision. But our role as privacy pros is to help the business to get there in a
Yes.
way where it is as respectful as possible of the individual rights that people have. And even if you're in a jurisdiction where the law is immature or the culture is immature, just treat people's information the way you would want your information to be treated. Like that's what I say to my mentees. That's what I say to my staff and my clients is let's just take a step back. Forget what the law says. If this was your data, well, how would you expect this to be treated? And that's the best way I found of getting stakeholders to give their buy-in is, well, this is what I would expect. Okay, so why are we still having this discussion? That's what we need to do for everybody else, right? You're like, oh yeah, it makes sense. And I think people who are new to the industry or with jurisdictions where this is new, people don't take the time to really explain why this matters. They try to come in and say, hey, if you don't do this, then the law, you're going to get fined, right? But that's not really a driver. Whereas if you actually talk to senior people in the business, they care about their customers. They care about their patients. They care about their students. And the moment you speak to them and say, would our customers like this? Would our patients like this? Would our students like this? Then they start thinking about the real people that they're dealing with. And it goes away from all of this PET and encryption and all of this stuff that isn't personable. And you start thinking about the real people. And the moment you remind people we're dealing with real people and real things and emotions, and how would you like to be treated, or how would you like this to be treated if it was your information, everything suddenly becomes a lot more easier, and you find that you're all back on the same page, moving in the right direction.
Well, indeed, it is quite important because ultimately, if you're working with a business, the business will want to grow and make profit. And you have to ensure that the business interests are protected. And it is indeed a very, very good way of taking it that do to others what you would want for yourself. And resultantly, it is definitely a good way to ensure that you should treat others' information the way you would want yours to be treated. Really thankful for this input, and it is indeed a very, very thought-provoking thing and to think about. I will now move on to my next question addressed to Ahana, where I would want to know if there are any notable case studies that illustrate the successful implementations of PETs. What lessons can we learn from these case studies?
So I had to choose my favorite case study because there are so many case studies, right? So I chose one, which is a real life case study. I was in a conference where a colleague from MIT had this, they were dealing with this issue for years. And then some of the best minds got together over coffee. And over the period of few weeks, they came up with this. And I think some of the organizations must be already using it in the Silicon Valley, but I think over and above, large organizations will be using this new technology this year or next year. So this PET is primarily used by the tech industry. We all know that there's data when it's data at rest or data in transit. So this has already been covered because now we have like encryption and other tools to protect the data when it's in a resting place or when it's in transit, right? But let's say there is a third factor to this, okay? Apart from data being at rest and data being in transit, there is data which is being used. So when data is being used, at that moment it's being operated on, that type of data is not yet, protected by any of these tools. And bad actors, let me just take a step back and talk about who are these bad actors. It's you and me. It's people like you and me who are so talented. Something went sour with them and they decided to go on the other side and use all that knowledge to maybe destroy or break or steal something. So these people are as talented or maybe sometimes more talented than you and me. And so these bad actors they knew that, there's protection when data is in transit, when data is at rest, but we can steal data when it is being operated on. And believe me, a lot of tech companies face this. So this new tech, these minds came together and they were talking about this new kind of PET. I think they called it the TEE, Trusted Execution Environment. That's what they called it. And this PET helps to protect data while it is being operated on. So this is a real life. He explained how it happened. It was beautiful. Over a period of 2 years, they used to meet over coffee. Like this was not, a team, or they did not, have an instruction to go and figure it out. They realized this was an issue. They met together outside of work and they found this. And that's how the PET TEE came to be. So I selected this as my favorite case study to present today, only because like Jamal said, and like Chetan says, and like you say, I think privacy is not to be seen as, it's work or it's out there. Privacy is here. It's in our house. It's in us, in our mind today. If we think of privacy as, something that is about people, it's about you and me, we would go out of the box to actually think of, okay, why do we want to use a pet? Maybe we could create our own pet. Maybe we could use an existing pet and modify it with our own modifications, which is so possible in today's world, right? We have all the technologies at our fingertips. And so pets are like jelly. You can customize it, you can create it, and you can use it the way you want to.
Definitely. It is. I'm really thankful for you to share about this case study about the TEE. And indeed, it is true that privacy is there. Privacy is in our house, and it is a thing which is to be maintained by people like you and me. And it is indeed a very, very great input, Ahana. And now I will move on to my next question towards implementation best practices. Will be addressed to Chetan Deep. So, Chetan, what are the best practices for organizations looking to implement PETs?
Yeah. Definitely. See, before we start to open a organization, see, every organization has the different criteria to implement privacy enhanced technologies. So, in order to gather the stuff upon that, see, the first of all is that we do a privacy gap assessment to understand what is the need of the hour, what the product we are creating, what services we are offering. We have to determine the sensitivity of data. The first thing is first that we should implementing the DPIA framework or privacy impact assessment framework so that the data and the evaluation to assess the certain risk for the for setting the pattern for the providing the privacy objectives. And then so afterwards, once we are done with the gap assessments, and if we have deployed all the gathering risk and stuff, and we have marked all the data flows and identified the best way to lock out. The second thing is to use the technology that I already told you, implementing the privacy by default and design. So in that space, we have to implement the privacy principles. Coming upon to the data minimization stuff, the encryption stuff, should be access control, how the access are being maintained for that very product or services we are offering, so that there are no lookups or unauthorization access. And then we have the major part, how we are implementing impacts the third party. If we are having a vendor onboarding, so we have to collaborate that the same vendor we are hiring for implementing our privacy technologies is has the same capability, same productivity that we are implementing for our users. So it depends upon the pilot testing system. So we have to we the next we run the pilot testing system, that if this product goes in the market, it is okay to go, it is compliant with the laws, and it is detailed upon and how it's going to implement in your larger audiences. We have to implement that. And then coming upon that, based upon these all these practices, it depends on how the data is being handled internally, and that's just upon about the policies creation part, how the data is being internally used, how it is processed, how the data is there any confusion? Okay. Okay. And then how the data is being, consent is being taken, how data subject rights are managed accordingly, and what are the initial ideology of your staff towards protecting the data of the persons they are collecting. So it altogether come upon raising the awareness and fostering culture of privacy altogether, because there are because organization nowadays, as they are now more about GDPR, CCPA, and everything is coming up. Now we have DPDPA. People are not aware. If they are aware, but they are not generally aware what privacy is and what the importance of data to their life. And in that respect, you should conduct regular knowledge sessions to the general public, or you can foster a culture in your privacy in the employee centric, because they are finally dealing with the data altogether. And so, in this all respect, we have to, I already told, we have to implement data privacy by default in the system from the birthplace till the end, from the start to till the end, we have to implement it. And then guiding upon, once things are patched up, everything is lined and everything is identified, we come upon the monitoring and auditing stuff. So we have to implement, monitor the growth and the maturity of the privacy enhanced technologies to implement and how to effectively apply it, and to regulate the changes or any potential mishappening which is happening. So altogether, it is collaboration with the stakeholders for the businesses and how they're going to implement it, and depends upon the major goal is that they are achieving the business goal by balancing the need of the people, need of the user, and giving them their proactivity in the market so that they can gain the customer trust, and they can be a game changer for uh, privacy centric approach towards their users altogether. Yes.
Well, definitely, Chetan. You were so well. You took everything from the beginning to the start, where you do an initial gap assessment and you till the end how it is to be implemented. It is really, really thankful for you because you actually explained the entire process in such simple language. It is indeed important for businesses to implement pets and try to ensure that they're more people centric and privacy centric because it does help gain trust with the consumers. Because personally, if a business is looking out for me, I will want to work with them. I will want to do business with them. And if I know that the business is not working in my interest, no matter how good the product, I will not buy from them. And this is one of the reasons that having good customer services is so important in a business. And indeed, it is a very, very good input that you've given here, Chetan. Now, my next question is addressed to Mr. Jamal regarding regulatory impact. So, Jamal, how do current data protection regulations, such as the GDPR or the CCPA, influence the adoption of PETs?
Good question. So let's stick with the GDPR. Keep things simple. It's more comprehensive than the CCPA in so many respects, anyway. So the GDPR is not a prescriptive law. It's more principle based, and it says you need to think about what's going on. You need to think about what you're doing, and you need to think about the impact it's going to have on the rights and freedoms of the individual. And you want to do your best to mitigate the impact, to make sure that you can let them enjoy their right to privacy as much as possible by introducing the appropriate technical and organizational measures. So given the fact this conversation is about privacy enhancing technologies, they're saying, have a look at what you're doing, have a think about what you're doing, have a look at the tools that are available, think about how much money you have, think about how intrusive this could be, think about the resources that you have, think about everything, and then make good business decisions or make reasonable decisions and do what is reasonable in the circumstances given the use case. So there is no clear-cut answer, but there is a strong direction that you should do the best you possibly can. There is no need for absolute security or to burden yourself with those things. You just need to do what is appropriate to the harm that you're creating when you choose to observe, interfere, or disturb with someone.
Well, indeed, Jamal, it is a very good answer that you've given here because as a business, if the cost of maintaining privacy is actually more than the benefit, it will not be a good business decision, and it might actually become difficult to get a buy-in from the business owner for in this regard. And it is really important that any policy relating to privacy is in aligned with the ultimate business objective. And thus, it is indeed important that all regulations should be, I believe that from what I can understand that you should be well aware of what all regulations are there and what all is there to guide you, but take the best possible decision in view of all the circumstances. So now I will move on to my next question towards emerging trends. This will be directed towards Ahana. So Ahana, what are emerging trends do you see in the field of PETs?
That's a question that is so wide that there are so many trends, I would say. We read of them in the morning, we read of them in the afternoon. The pace is so fast. But if there is one trend that I'm particularly excited about and really looking forward to using this, it is the decentralized identity systems, especially given the fact that so let me talk about what this is. Essentially, this is a system where we don't rely on the centralized authorities, but the system allows the users to control their own data. So they use technology like blockchain. There's another technology, distributed ledger technology, and there are so many new technologies. But essentially, this is essential and critical for our time because we know that in these days, the kind of hacks that happen are on trusted brands. And when they are hacked, millions of users' data are compromised. So all these centralized systems essentially are not safe because we trust them to have our data. But when they get hacked, we realize, okay, not so safe. Maybe if we were controlling our own data, we would be safe and our data would not be exposed. So this new technology, the decentralized identity systems, is something that will really benefit users everywhere.
Yes, indeed. I think that is completely true because if everything it is a very good analogy where they say that you do not keep all your eggs in one basket. So when you distribute data in various places, so even if one system gets hacked, at least you will be able to protect some of the data and mitigate your losses. So
Yeah.
it is indeed a very good input. Okay, so my next question is addressed to Chetan Deep regarding innovations on the horizon. So, Chetan, are there any innovative PETs currently in development that you are particularly excited about? How many advances in AI and machine learning impact the future of PETs?
Yeah. See, since the human civilization, we are evolving and evolving. See, like in privacy also, we know about privacy, but we didn't knew privacy exist. And then suddenly, it exists in our human rights, but never existed in a altogether format. And suddenly, GDPR came in and everything changed. And some likely in every part of the world, CCP, US, and every other country is now adopting privacy legislation in India also now. And right on the same pattern, technologies are also advancing. We are getting more to more towards becoming king of our era or digital era, I would say. But in altogether, if I had to sum up the privacy enhanced technology, see, these encryption, these methods, these security protocols, and these privacy principles existed before also. But right now, the importance has uh, its importance has risen from zero till now 100, and these encryption are being advanced. Now we have efficient, just like Jamal said, we have efficient homomorphic encryption patterns in the line. We have technologies like K anonymity in the chain. And now we are having the blockchain integration to provide the confidential data protection and sharing protocols. And along with that, the AI enhancement that we are getting, it is the model, the AI reasons and the coding has been done to adapt to the privacy technologies accordingly. And altogether, the Jamal also touched upon multi-party computations. These facilitates a joint uh, multiple parties without disclosing the private inputs of a person. So this is a like a path-breaking moment for all of us and all together. And if I had to come on along with side with the AI technologies, we have machine learning things also. So that ensures aggregation and federal learning to provide the data analysis of the product or any company to aggregate the data and maintain anonymity at its best altogether. This is the case. Yes.
I
Well,
also feel like, sorry,
please,
I just
please
have
go
like to add on to what Chetan said, I think with the power of AI, even the existing pets that we have, like,
Yes.
we have synthetic data, we have differential privacy. With the power of Gen AI, like, you want to take an artist, for example, the artist will take the best of the best will take at least half an hour to sketch something with the dimensions you give him. But with Gen AI, you just type it out, and within seconds, right, the most beautiful image will come out to you using this power of AI. Just imagine, take the synthetic data pet, where basically, the pet is using data anonymization, analytics. Use AI into this pet, and look at the speed. It'll not even take more than a few seconds, or if there's a lot of data, more than a few hours. Take, for example, differential privacy. We all know that differential privacy is so commonly used, but now you add the AI to differential privacy, and your time has gone down from hours and days to just, maybe minutes or seconds. So AI doesn't need to be used for a new pet. AI can be incorporated in existing pets. And this is what privacy pros like you and me need to do, sitting down with our dev guys, with our IT guys. And this is where right now I feel the power is with us. If there's an issue, I talk to you, I talk to Chetan, and the three of us talk like three times in a month, and we've come up with something. We give it to the devs, and then they create a new pet, and then the whole world reads about that new pet. That is the power. It's with us. It's with you and me.
Correct.
So, yeah, definitely, Ahana. It is a really, really great way how you have been able to take a subject like privacy, which is something which actually, in my opinion, scares a lot of people because it's a lot of people think it's quite complex. But when you say it's a thing between you and me, it just makes it sound so much easier. And I think people who will be hearing this will actually feel more confident to be able to actually implement and ensure privacy while maintaining the business objectives. And I'm really, really thankful for that. And Chetan, your inputs when you were talking about how AI and machine learning are impacting pets, it was indeed quite eye-opening for our audience. So with this, I would like to conclude our fireside chat today. I would request our guests if they have any other remarks or anything else they would might want to add to this.
Chetan, why don't
Uh,
you go ahead? I feel like you're ready to say something.
I am ready to say something, actually, but I'll go after you. But you go first. Yes.
Okay, you're being a gentleman, ladies first.
Yeah, definitely. Though that is my courtesy. Yes.
Okay, well, I think it was amazing. Thank you, Shaswat, for having the three of us on your first episode. Um, I bet you this is going to become a very big podcast, and a year down, in less than a year, this is going to be everywhere because this podcast has essentially what in Jamal's words, this is the easy peasy version of privacy. And
Thank you
I
so
so
much.
believe, and this is a message to all the viewers out there. You know us, you know our names, you know our faces. We are here to make privacy easy. Like privacy is when you read about it, when you see people's posts or you read the legislation, it feels like heavy and it feels like it's got too much of teeth and oh fines, oh this, oh that. It's nothing. I mean, it's a very simple thing. You just close your books, your big laws, pick up the phone, go on LinkedIn, reach out to any of us. We're here to make privacy easy for you. And that's what I think privacy pros are. That's our main job, to make privacy easy for our organizations, for our colleagues. Pets is there to make privacy easy. And I hope that all the viewers got enough information about all the pets. There's going to be so many more pets that come in. So I would, in a very simple way, say you don't have to know it all, because it's may not be applicable to you. You need to know what your issue is, then do a little bit of research, and with AI, you can get your answers even more easier. And then, you deep dive into the particular pet that you're looking for. There's no need for you to know everything about all the pets out there. Keep it simple. In Jamal's words, keep it easy peasy. And yeah, thank you, Chetan. Thank you, Shaswat, for having us here. It's been wonderful to be speaking alongside the book, which I had been a book launch club with Chetan, and 1 year later to be a part of this new group, which I'm sure we are going to be talking for many more months and years.
Well, definitely, I'm really thankful for you to taking for taking out your time. And Chetan, now what do you have to say? We've been very
Really, I would
eagerly waiting.
like to thank Ahana first, because the one when we were planning to start this podcast thing, the first name triggered was Ahana's only. So I just instantly pinged it out and I texted her on LinkedIn because I know we are not connected on WhatsApp. Now we will, but yeah.
We will.
So she was so down, so amazing and so supportive that I would be love to become a part of this amazing session alongside Jamal and alongside me also. So that was a very much enlightening moment for our podcast and going way forward. So apart from this, thank you, Jamal. I know he has had to go somewhere else, but yeah. So I'm thankful to him also. On the first moment, he clapped my hands and said, "Okay, I'm done. Let me know when to come and when to pitch in for you. I'll be happy to initiate for a podcast episode for you." Alongside that, apart from this thank you measures, yeah, we my idea of privacy is, I'll tell you, it is not just restricted to your human right. It is altogether a whole new world that we are exploring, and from past 2 3 years now I am also part of it. This world has gone to a rise and it is expanding beyond the horizons. So and the privacy centric things are so much because people are getting more aware. People know about what is data is, what things they have to do for to protect the data, and coming in for these amazing sessions we do. We are connected on LinkedIn. Everyone in the privacy community are spreading so much good thing about privacy, and they are people are there who are passionate about, because I tend to 2 or 3 days I get a message from a person that we want to enter privacy. I tell them it is open to anybody. It is if you are legal professional, if you are having a commerce background, it is open to everybody. Come and learn with us, and we will eventually help you grow and prosper in this domain. Yes.
Well, indeed, I think privacy is something, as Hannah has pointed out, and Jamal, and you have also pointed out throughout the podcast, that
Yes.
it is something which is created by us and for us. And
Yes.
we are the ones who are supposed to maintain it.
Yes.
And it's a really, really human-centric approach, because
Yes.
don't do to others what you don't want for
Yeah.
yourself.
Correct.
So, with this, I would like to thank our dear guests for taking out their valuable time for the chat today. I am extremely grateful for their valuable inputs and the great work they have done in the world of privacy. I'm sure we will have numerous opportunities to collaborate with our dear guests, Ahana, Chetandeep, and Jamal, for our future sessions and get a chance to learn and get enlightened by them even further. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello, and welcome to the first episode of a podcast series, Fireside Chats on Tech, Privacy, and AI. We have started this series with the purpose of having casual one to one discussions on the ever evolving field of privacy and artificial intelligence. Today, we have with us Jamal Ahmed, Ahana Pardhe, and Chetandeep Singh Batra to have a fireside chat discussion on the topic, an overview of privacy enhancing technologies, concepts, applications, and future directions. This episode will progress in a manner where I will be posing a question to one of our guests, and it will be open for our other guests to weigh in as well. Thank you everyone for joining us, and it is a great pleasure to have you with us. I will begin by giving a short description of each of our guests and then move on to the questions. I will start by introducing Jamal. Called the King of Privacy by the BBC network, Jamal Ahmed is a globally renowned name. Jamal is the founder and host of the Pro podcast, the number one privacy podcast for a thriving career, where he shares insights, tips, and best practices from leading privacy experts. He is also founder of Kazient Privacy Experts, a multi-award winning global privacy and AI consultancy that provides tailored solutions to clients across various sectors. A true person passionate in a field is one who not only practices but also empowers others to become masters in the field. Jamal is also the founder of the Privacy Pros Academy,